Hi, everyone. This is BRACHA in Jerusalem. And I am definitely a compulsive overeater. And I do what you do, and that is I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the GreySheet. I commit my meals to my sponsor. I don't eat anything in between my meals, no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing in my life. And I'm absent today by the grace of God and the support of this community. And thank you very much for asking me to speak. I'm celebrating 29 years this month, but for the grace of God, there go I. It's only because of all of you that I'm able to do this. I call this a secret society. It's a too well-kept secret. So last week I qualified in my home group, and I thought, well, I'll just say the same thing that I said last week. But then I decided to do a two-way prayer. Two-way prayer is you write a question to God, and then you meditate for 5 minutes, and then you let the answer come. You just write, and you write it in you start off in a very flowery way, like it's God talking to you, like you're the most precious daughter of the king. And so I want to read what came up when I wrote this two-way prayer. And the question was, what would you have me say on my Sunday qualification? Now, dear God, dear Ribono Shel Olam, meaning master of the world, infinite one, awesome one, great one. Tati Zisa, meaning sweet father. Tati in Himmel, meaning Father in heaven. What would you have me say for my qualification? How can I be of help? How can I best serve thee? How can I self-express emotions? And this is the answer. My dear precious Brachala, daughter of the King, my very precious one, child of God, speak to the newcomer. Speak about the gift of desperation, wanting love, cravings lifted. My sponsor said, jump. I said, how high? About hiding, about wanting to be invisible, about finding my voice, about telling on myself, the hurts, the shame, the failures, the errors, the mistakes, the hating. Talk about being shut down and riddled with fear. Talk about death. Talk death to death. Talk about the wild, the S, meaning the sex, the drugs, the diet pills, the 60s, the wanting more love, more money, more oil, more oily foods, more grease, the confusion, the fear, the not knowing how to handle life, the sadness, the not knowing how to go to God, the more shame, the unknowing that I could have a real relationship with God, that it was up to me. I could move closer. I could pick up the phone. realizing God comes through other people. All God wants is that I connect with others. I love the foods on GreySheet. I was a natural food chef with an oil tooth. I love that I can have a lot of fat on the GreySheet. Then the satisfaction, the new wisdom, the expression, the poetry, the thinner body, the healthier body, the deeper relationships, the going past my comfort zone, the telling on myself, the going out of denial, seeing life on life's terms, finding a power greater than myself that will help me if I ask, believing a power greater than myself knows better than I what's good for me. And then the compliments, the flow from above, the blessings, the new careers, the hunger-free life. Everyone gets what they need when they come to these rooms. People get married, they have babies, they find their life purpose. They get out of loneliness and into service. We get healthy, body, mind, spirit. Low blood sugar, low cholesterol, low triglycerides, low weight. Clothes slip on. We show up. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but always going forward. More answers, more insights, more surrender, more acceptance. Raising the level of acceptance to an art form. More big book. Acceptance prayer, page 417 in the big book. Changed attitude, attitude of gratitude. Turning shame into humility. In the word humiliation is the word humility. When I embrace the shame, I am humbled. When I am humble, I am full of light. When I am full of light, my soul shines. My soul shines out of me, and everyone wants to be in my presence. This should be called the quiet diet, because it's the prayer and meditation that takes the place of overeating. I love GreySheet foods. Love foods that love you back. I love that it says on the GreySheet, learn to like and love yourself a day at a time. When I love myself, then I can love others. When I love others, others love themselves. When others love themselves, then others can love me. It all begins with self-love. I invite you to place your hand on your heart and say, I love myself totally, completely, absolutely, for everything, everywhere, all the time, no matter what. So that's the answer I got from the two-way prayer. Now, I never thought of myself as a writer and or a teacher. I didn't really do well in school. I hated school. And I would get ridiculous marks. Well, I did okay in English and history. I would often get 95s and 100s, but Spanish, math, and science, forget it. I would get ridiculous marks. And I was always cutting out of school. And because of GreySheet, I became a teacher. I became a meditation teacher. And my mind goes very fast. I only learned this in abstinence, that people who stutter, it's not that they're not smart, it's that their minds are going so fast that their lips, their words can't keep up with them. And I felt like that was me. Like my mind was so fast, I couldn't get the words out. So by teaching meditation, it slows down my mind. And it's very fulfilling. And I really believe that that we need to find our life purpose, and then we stop eating compulsively. We need to love ourselves. And to self-express. And like I said, I wanted to be invisible. I didn't know that I wanted to be invisible until I came to the rooms and I learned that. I said, oh, that was me. Yeah, I didn't want to show up and speak up. I don't want you to look at me. But today, I do show up. And like I said, it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And so what I learned in these rooms is that we have a physical, emotional, and spiritual disease. And we have to do something physical, something emotional, and something spiritual in order to heal it. So physical, I put my food on the scale. I buy backup food. I have lots of backup food in the freezer, in cans, dried food. And my backup food is really delicious. The physical could be take a walk, take a nap, take a bath, read a book. I once had a sponsor who said there are 100 things to do besides eat. I didn't like that, but it's true. There's so much to do besides eat. And anyway, we do eat. We have abundant meals. Our meals are delicious. And so the physical is picking up the phone. And then the emotional. When we pick up the phone, we can talk about our emotions. On meetings, we can talk about our emotions. Who knew? They say if you want to know why you're eating, stop eating. Stop eating compulsively. And let the feelings come up. Let the feelings arise. And I never knew I could express my feelings in front of people. I remember the first time I heard someone say she had fear, I was like, wow, you could say that? I have so much fear. I've always had that's my biggie. Fear, shame, and self-doubt. Those are my biggies. I learned that there are 4 major feelings, that the 4 major feelings rhyme. All other feelings are derived from these 4: sad, mad, scared, and glad. We have to talk about the good feelings too. All feelings have to come out, or they get pushed down, and they just keep getting pushed down. And then they come up, magnified. So I'm glad to know today to release my feelings. I still have a lot of self-doubt, but I show up anyway. And I have fear, but I don't listen to that voice of fear. Usually I don't. So I added another one. So sad, mad, scared, glad, I added bad. I feel shame or I feel guilt. And they say that feelings are sensations in the body that actually feel good, and that all feelings are beautiful, even the negative feelings, if I don't react to them, if I respond to them. And I've learned in these years in GreySheet to do the O response. If I'm feeling something, a negative feeling, I go, oh, fear, oh, jealousy, oh, sadness, oh, grief. There was a lot of grief in my life. I usually start my qualification with this. You know, many of us come into these rooms with a lot of blame, and I came in with a lot of hate towards my mother. I had mother issues. She was fat phobic, but more than that. And I put myself, and I learned in these rooms to put myself in her shoes. And I realized, wow, when she was a young girl, like 1919, when they had the pandemic, she lost a brother. And then right before I was born, a grandfather died, and then another grandfather died. And then she had a stillborn. Then my father's mother died. So like all the support system was not there, you know. And my parents were very sensitive people, and they took the stillborn very hard. And then my father's brother, my uncle Jaime, he worked with my father. He died when I was 5. And then my father died when I was 9. And there went love. My father loved me as if 2 people were loving me. And, you know, as I said, they say talk death to death. It was excruciating. And I remember I talked to God every night for about a year, asking him, why did you take my daddy? Oh, I'll tell you my God story, but first I'll finish with all the death. I came into this world, I say, with an aura of death. So then my mother died when I was 18. And then 4 months after my mother died, my favorite uncle died. And then I had one grandmother. She outlived my parents, and she died when I was 20. And then my husband died when I was 38 with 4 young children. So a lot to eat over. So what was I going to say about, my God story. So I had a friend whose sister was a Bohemian. This was the early 60s, and she convinced my friend that there was no God. And I was still holding out that there was a God. And finally she said to me, if there is a God, why did he take your daddy? This was like 2 years after my father died. And in my child's mind, I thought, she must be right. There must not be a God. What kind of God would do that? My loving father, you know. So I became an atheist. And then it was the 60s, and we wore pea coats, pea jackets with buttons, peace signs and dove signs and yin yang signs. And then I had a button that said, God is dead. And another one that said, God is alive and well and living in Argentina. I didn't know that that was a reference to the Nazis who went to South America after the war. I'm wearing this button, God is alive and dead and living in Argentina. I didn't know what I was wearing. And I was always debating, is there a God? Isn't there a God? I was sure there was no God. I was a staunch atheist, not even an agnostic. I was a teenager. Then fast forward, I decided there were no parents saying get into college. So I took a ship, the Queen Anna Maria, the Greek lines. Oh, also, by then I was on diet pills. And my mother put me on diet pills. So I had what the 60s were really wild. And so I took this ship to Israel, to Haifa, from New York to Haifa. And fast forward, I lived on a desert island. I lived in caves on a Greek island. I went to 22 countries. And I ran out of the diet pills. For a while, I was able to get them in Jericho from the Arabs. But then that stopped. And so I started gaining weight. One morning, I walked out of my beautiful terracotta cave that was overlooking the gleaming, glittering Mediterranean and the red poppy fields. And I said, oh, there is a God. I was suddenly awestruck and I started to believe in God. But it wasn't the God of the 12-step rooms or even of the spiritual path that I'm on today. It was just this feeling that there is something. But I didn't know I could tap into it. When I came to these rooms, I learned I could tap into God and that God would help me if I got on my knees. And I did get on my knees. And I still get on my knees. I never remarried. I lost my husband when I was 38. I'm going to be 73 in April. And, I came here because I was vain. I wanted to lose weight because I wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted love. I had a few dead-end relationships, but it didn't happen. And I'm okay because I have all of you. Because what's a relationship? It's to be intimate with someone, to have an authentic voice. And this is where I hopefully have my authentic voice. I mean, I'm getting better at it, but so I was saying we do something physical, we do something emotional, we do something spiritual. So I started to pray. In the beginning, I just did a little bit. And then my soul started to crave the prayer. And I started to do more and more and more. And the prayer started to bring good things and kept me abstinent. And finances were always difficult for me. And my late husband, he didn't know how to make money. He died of anorexia nervosa. That's a whole other story. That's his qualification. But anyway, he had a lot of skeletons in the closet, which will take me 3 hours to tell you, so I won't, but you can imagine. And so I started to do the spiritual, and which I believe is connecting with others. That all God wants is that I connect with others and speak my truth, have an honest heart. And of course, we say that the scale is the most spiritual thing that we do in a day. Now, why is that? Because the numbers don't lie. And God does not lie. God is truth. The numbers are truth. The scale is truth. So the scale is God. So grateful. So, they say there are 5 things that we do if we want to be abstinent. We weigh and measure our food. We go to meetings. We get a sponsor. We do service. And we work the steps. That's it. And then you have an easy abstinence. I have no hunger, no cravings. Love the food. I don't feel like I'm on a diet. I don't feel like I'm holding myself back. I mean, I try not to use the whole oil bottle. I really have an oil tooth. And I have to now watch the oil. I'm shrinking. I'm 5 feet and shrinking. And I never did get to my goal weight. I know how to hide it, but it would be nice to be a little lighter. So I'm praying about that. And trying not to focus on it. Just focus on my program, on service. And I have many sponsees. And I learned that trust, at the core of every problem is fear. And at the core of fear is lack of trust. And I'm not born trusting. And in AA, they say, pray for deep, abiding trust. Just trust. Imagine falling out of an airplane into the arms of God. Trust is the highest spiritual thought, and trust leads to serenity, and serenity leads to joy. The Talmud says that you can't have prophecy in sadness, even individual prophecy, how to know the next right thing to say, the next right thing to do. Only if we bring ourselves to joy. So I put on oldies from the 60s and dance around the house with wrist weights. And I'm always trying to bring myself to joy, and mostly through gratitude. I do my gratitude list every day and focus on what's good in my life. I could go on, but I think I should stop here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm going to keep coming back, no matter what.